And the head
Hello.
bop of music.
Woohoo.
That head bop music means it is again time for the 40/40 Men with Gregory Howard
And
and
Jeff
Jeff
Morton.
Morton.
Um, I want to say Happy Canada Day to those Canadians, and then tomorrow, Happy
Good.
4th of July, Happy Independence Day. Um,
Yeah.
it's that the
Do they
weekend.
deserve to have? Do they deserve to really celebrate Independence Day in the United States now
I don't know. I
with all
mean,
the stuff that's going on down there? Doesn't sound very independent to me.
it's
Does it's they're like the 14th. Oh no, I think they're like ranked 14th in the world in actual freedom, maybe even lower than that.
I love the fact that there's a freedom rank. Well, that's the thing is like if anyone that always bitches about their own government, and then they'll say, oh yeah, that's run by a dictator, and then you go to Saudi Arabia or
Yeah.
Qatar, and you see what really happens when you oppose the
Well, and that
government.
and that goes back. Like we're a baseball podcast. We will
Yeah.
talk sports once in a while, and that does kind of go into the whole live golf tournament thing, which is absolutely the most disgusting thing.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't believe these. Like, would I know they're getting like $200 million signing bonuses. Like, I know the each tournament you win $4 million per tournament. There's no cuts. It's 54 holes. Um, but yeah, it's sports washing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely sports washing, and I mean that's a lot of money. But did Greg Norman and all these guys need the money?
No.
No. Like how rich do you want to be off the backs of dead Saudis and chopped up American journalists?
Well, I mean,
But
I'm
anyway,
a massive fan of the World Cup, and usually your country had to qualify in a tournament prior to it. And Qatar has never played in the World Cup, but here's an oil well. Like, okay, and here's another oil well. Oh, we get the World Cup
what is Qatar
because
going to do with all those stadiums?
well, they're gonna take them down. Like they're only temporary stadiums, and then they're gonna take them down, and they say they're gonna utilize the parts for other projects. But it's just I really have no clue what they're gonna use.
And
You know,
who wants to play soccer in the summer in Qatar
well, it's not going to be in the
anyway?
summer. It's going to be in November.
Oh,
That's actually why there's
okay,
been a lot of signings for the MLS this summer because there's guys that want to stay in game shape to so they can compete because the European seasons don't usually start until September. So that means they would get
right.
like 1 month under their belt before they could get back to World Cup level, right? So they're coming over to the MLS because they're playing throughout the summer. I mean, the good thing about the guys that we've signed, because we signed a lot of Italians, Italy didn't make the World Cup, so we get
Oh,
to keep
nice.
them for for when our
They've actually
finals are.
because of the World Cup is coming North America. What year? 2026?
Yeah,
Is that
and
what it's coming in?
Toronto and
They've rate
Vancouver. Yeah.
Yeah, they've rated Toronto Stadium the worst stadium of all of them.
Oh, it totally is. It's fun, but it's the smallest. It's the
Well,
worst.
they're going to expand it. They're going to
Oh
build
yeah.
huge. Yeah,
Well,
whatever. Okay. Anyway,
but this thing is, it's idiot proof to not have it in the states because there's just take the NFL stadiums. You've got 31 stadiums right away, ready to go, like
yeah.
top notch. Anywhere from 65 to 100,000, and then let's throw in say like at least 50 college stadiums that are pretty awesome, like you know
Yeah.
like Neyland
I mean,
Stadium in Tennessee, in Knoxville, 115,000. I think the Big House is up to like 117,000 now. Like,
that's the one
geez,
in Michigan, right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
All right. Well, yeah, back to the
Oh
baseball
yeah,
stuff. So
baseballing.
today
Oh,
we're going to be
and
talking
my
about.
Canada shirt. I've
I'm
altered my
calling it.
I've altered my
Mm,
stance here because it's showing a little nipple, like it's a little chilly. So I had to.
I've got permanent outies. It's rather
Yeah.
disturbing. So we'll call it Jekyll and Kikuchi. Which
Oh yeah.
Kikuchi is the real Kikuchi? And we're also going to talk about Alec Manoah as well. Going to talk again about our starting rotation depth versus other contenders in the East.
Hmm.
Which Blue Jays actually deserve to be voted in the All-Star game because there are so many Americans uber pissed
Mm-hmm.
that there's 6 J's available for choosing. Well,
Yeah.
I think what they forget, anyway, we'll get into that. And our usual, towards the
Pissy Jays
end,
fans.
pissy Jays fans,
I
guys,
still have
they
to. I
still
still have to make
exist.
a bumper for that. Remind me. Like, send me a text in the middle of the week and say, "Make a bumper for Pissy Jays
Make a
fans."
bumper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so over the week we had a 500 record. Remember, we go from Sunday to Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
so we lost the Sunday game against the Brewers.
Yeah.
We went 2-3 against the Sox, and we split
Two for
teammates so
two
far.
so
But we,
far. Yeah.
yeah, but we lost the double header, and
I
it
mean,
was
yeah.
just
We lost. We
the
lost more than the
second.
game.
Well,
We lost more than the
yeah.
game on that. Like, we lost a
Well,
lot of pieces.
Gosman, I think, will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
He luckily wasn't broken. He had an ankle contusion. I'm guessing he'll probably miss a start because it's his power off leg.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes to our first thing we're talking about, which is the depth of the starting rotation, which we don't have.
No.
Tampa Bay, they got like 10, 12 players on the disabled list. I think 7
Yeah.
of them are pitchers, including Glasnow and Firestein, I believe. What's his name? Anyway, and they still got the 4th best ERA in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
We go down one guy into AAA, and he gets shelled for 10 runs in 5 innings. Like,
I,
they just left the poor kid out there to dry. And they kept talking about how the bullpen was all ready to go now because Casey Lawrence came in and, did his job. His line didn't look great, but he actually did pretty good. He pitched well. Soft hits. He did give a couple home runs, but that's fine for being thrown in as the 27th, the designated 27th guy for a doubleheader.
yeah.
That's what he was. So I get it. The first game, like,
But you're
it
you're
was
right. Like one of the things that was kind of annoying about yesterday, when you're saying 27 guys, they have a little extra to give because they were trying to save the bullpen for game two, but they didn't.
that was the whole thing. Like I don't really understand their logic on that one because Hatch was playing like. I know you got to say the bullpen. I know we've got a 7-game West Coast trip right after this
Hmm.
5-game in 4 days. Like, our schedule has been absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
But we're not the only ones that are going. All the teams must be going through the same thing because they
Hmm.
all lost a week off the top that have to be squeezed in. Um, our hitters are doing fine. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't blame them against McClanahan from Tampa Bay because he's leading the majors in ERA,
Yeah.
which leads to, well, preview a Pissy J fan. This idiot decided to say that, well, good hitting should be good pitching. That's not how it
It's
works.
such a thing called a no hitter.
The
Yeah.
saying is good pitching will always beat good hitting. That's just generally what it is. And people kept saying this to this guy. He's like, but they're supposed to be the best offensive team. They can't beat this guy. It's like
Here's
nobody
here's
can.
here's the thing
Nobody's
about
beating this guy.
here's the thing about hitting, right? Here's the thing about hitting. You have to realize that one of the greatest averages ever attained by anyone would be a failing grade if you were to get that on a report card. Like if you get
Exactly.
400, if you get that's 40%. Them and 400 and hitting 400 is insane. So
Yeah,
no, good hitting doesn't beat good pitching. Good hitting means you can beat up on pitchers, but if there's a great pitcher out there, you're kind of toast. It sucks.
yeah,
You gotta hope
exactly.
you can hit them. But yeah, like if you're a goaltender in any sport and you're yeah, what's your average? Oh, 400. Yeah, you're not starting.
Yeah,
But if
exactly.
you're a baseball
Like,
player, 330. Holy crap, that's an amazing average. Yeah.
so I mean, and that's exactly it. And sometimes Blue Jay fans have to give credit to the other team.
Hmm.
Like it's not like everything is always the Blue Jays' fault. Like this guy throws 6 above average pitches, and you're
Yeah.
supposed to guess which one's coming.
Yeah.
No, like they were saying. Shulman was talking to the Tampa Bay broadcast crew, and he said, "So what do you think this compared to Blake Snell's 2018 Cy Young season?" And they're like, "Oh, this guy's way better."
Yeah.
So, and that was a pretty damn good season for Blake Snell.
And
So
And
Anyway,
it's crazy. Like two really exceptionally dominant pitchers are going to come back. Not on. We don't have to face them for a while, but I mean, like, if you want to just throw a couple of extra aces, into the league,
mhm,
Scherzer comes back this week, and at the end of the week, DeGrom comes back as well. So like, we don't have to
yeah.
face them for quite some time. We're fine, but you know,
It,
there you go.
it's also
There's
another team we don't have to worry about trading like
yeah,
getting in the way of us trading for somebody
yeah.
because they would get those guys back. So do you think Kikuchi was the real Kikuchi? Because he pitched a great game in that first one.
I, I,
And
I
here's
honestly
here's the
think I honestly think he's gonna literally be two on, two off. Because that seems to be what
yeah.
happens. It's like he'll get a game where it sucks, and then he'll get himself in a hole again, and it'll suck, and then we'll be like, oh my god, he's toast. And then all of a sudden he'll come back with a game. We're like, oh, okay, cool. And then he'll have another
If he
game.
can
We're
give
like,
you
oh,
yeah,
I think he's
five
got it.
innings or two or less. That's what you want. 5 innings or 2 or 3 runs.
Yeah,
That's what you're expecting from him, right?
yeah.
And the offense can maybe pick it up a little bit. But here's the weird stat. This is the one I found interesting between the last start and this start.
Mhm.
The last start, he was throwing a slider 81 miles an hour. And this start, it was 86,
Yeah.
which is a 5 mile an hour difference. Now,
It
that's
doesn't
not
seem
dead
like that
arm.
much. Yeah.
That's to me effort,
Mhm.
because the pitches he was throwing this past start, you could see the conviction in them. He threw a lot more fastballs with him than trying to get him to do. And the last one, he would throw these sliders, and they would always, if his slider's working, it'll fall right to the bottom of the zone,
Yeah.
right? It'll hit right at that bottom. But his were kept falling below that constantly on that last start and on the Sunday against Milwaukee. So
I
maybe
didn't
he realized he's got to have more conviction when he's throwing
I didn't
because
notice. Did he look happy? Like, did he look sad?
he looks stoic,
He
almost as
looks
stoic
stoic.
as
Oh yeah.
Kirk.
Okay, there we go.
Just Kirk's our most stoic guy.
As you were saying,
Um,
there's people that are like, well, he looks sad out there. So I don't know. Is he sad or is he happy?
yeah, I don't know. I think the All Star break's going to come at a good time for him because he'll have time to rest and work on his thing a little bit more.
Mhm.
But all our pitchers seem to be tinkering with things. Like Barrios was pitching on the other side of the rubber again. Like they had moved him to the first base side, now
Yeah.
he's on the third base side again. They all seem to be tinkering, which I guess is good because those are the two guys who aren't working out too well. The only thing with this Tampa series is it's going to be tough to win this next game
Yeah. Well,
because they never got to see Alek Manoah.
yeah. And then that's the thing.
He's
It's
like
like
our guarantee.
it's without being in the playoffs and playing a 7 game series. When's the last time you go through a whole stable of starters in one team? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
and
we're proving we need that. You need 7 or 8
yeah,
easy. So Stripling was our sixth, and then I guess Hatch was our. I would put now Casey Lawrence ahead of Thomas Hatch. I think Thomas Hatch he killed. He wasn't pitching well in AAA. I don't know why they used him. They should have just had Casey Lawrence making that start. Although in
you're about to say
retrospect,
Casey Jansen. Let's bring
yeah, I
him
was
out
going to
of
say Casey
retirement. Yeah,
Jansen.
I liked him. Although your fill-in host when you were in China did not
Why?
like
Because he
Casey
met him at the
Jansen.
underground and didn't like him.
Oh no, long-winded story, but it's kind of funny. I'll explain that
Oh,
at another date.
all
But
right.
yeah, hated Casey Jansen. But yeah, no, like although speaking of picking up some middle relief, I was pleased to see that Atkins and Shapiro got a freshly waived Sergio Romo.
Yep.
Like that's
And we
awesome.
traded for Anthony Banda.
Yeah, but Romo coming in, and I mean, like the guy's now throwing like 85, maybe sometimes like an 89. I don't think he's hit 90 yet.
His
But
last that when he pitched, he hit 86. That was the fastest pitch he hit.
yeah, this guy is a good pitcher. Like he can move the ball, he can place it where he wants. He doesn't have the velocity he's got right now, but this, bringing him in for like an inning or two, that's killer. You know,
Yeah, I mean, well, he'll do an inning. He won't do two.
yeah,
He's a Casey Lawrence type of pitcher. Actually,
yeah,
he spots. He just has to spot his stuff and keep it moving. He's going to throw sliders like 60% of the time.
hmm
That's just what he's going to do. But his personality is definitely going to fit in. He liked coming here because of our culture
yeah.
here, and that beard is insane.
It's
That's
I
an insane looking beard,
Well,
man.
that's the thing. Like when I watched a little bit, I hadn't actually noticed that we'd picked him up yet. And when I turned on the TV and I saw in the bullpen, I'm like, what the hell is that? Like we don't have anyone like that. Like, oh my god! And then
Nope.
I had a quick little look. I'm like, oh my god,
All right.
that's
Well, we'll continue this a second because now it is commercial break.
commercial break.
Number
Beep,
one.
beep, beep.
So it's not exactly a commercial break. It's our pandering break. So since we're a new show out here, we definitely need to get some sponsors on this show. Um, we'll take anybody. If you want to train my body, I need to lose 30 pounds. If you're one of those people, give us your products. We like beer. We like baseball and beer and computer. So, if you're a company that wants to get your name out there on a baseball podcast, we will be on YouTube, we'll be on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, we'll be everywhere. So it's a good reach for you. So if you choose to, please contact us at either Jeff at thecanadianway.ca or Greg at thecanadianway.ca. Okay,
Woohoo!
so back to what we were talking about. The next thing, it's amazing how fast our the time goes when we do our podcast. I got to start putting less stuff in here.
That's fine. Oh, gee,
Okay,
like
so the
what a crappy
big
thing
thing,
having a lot of stuff to talk about baseball. Oh my
yeah, I
god.
don't get it. So now the big thing is the All Star game because they've kind of changed the way they're doing the voting a little bit. They wanted an initial voting period and then to pick finalists for a second voting period. Whoever got the most votes in that voting period for either league gets an automatic berth. So that would
Mhm.
be Aaron Judge and Ronald Acuna Jr., which actually really surprised me
Oh yeah,
considering he missed a month. But
not
yeah,
Bryce Harper.
nope. But he's done anyway.
Yeah,
He might be out. Yeah, he's gonna be out for a while.
yeah.
But Americanos are a little upset with us Canadians because we put six J's on that next ballot, which would be Guerrero, Espinal, Bichette, Gurriel,
Springer.
Kirk, and Springer.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, out of all of those guys, I will admit there may be one, maybe two that don't really deserve to be on that list.
Well,
I would,
let's
I
just
would
say
say,
ones that deserve right away. And I mean, like
yeah,
it's he's we've mentioned him a number of times before, but Kirk because he's leading
Kirk,
in every catching category, like every
yeah,
offensive category for catchers.
mm-hmm.
Vladdy
Yep,
because he's awesome, and Springer.
yeah. Now, I almost would throw if Gurriel keeps it up for the next month the way he's been doing. I would consider him too because he's been killing the ball lately. Like he has brought his average up so much in the last month, and he's locked in like he was in September last year. Um,
It's the
Bichette,
hair. It's the hair.
yeah, I mean Bichette, he's still top five in the league with his numbers. He's not having his best season. I mean, that should be Xander Bogaerts
Yeah.
hands down. That's who it should be. And Jose Ramirez at third. That's why. But anyway, so maybe two of our guys might not necessarily deserve to be there, Gurriel and Bichette. But I mean, I can see why they might also be there. And for the Americans who complain that it's a whole country, well, our country is population is 1/10 the size of yours. So if you're really that concerned about it, get the other 300 million people to vote as well.
But here's
You know,
here's something to think of as well, right? We do have fans in Winnipeg. We do have fans in Calgary. We do
yeah.
have fans in Vancouver. So
Oh, yeah.
think of the fact that New York, massive city,
Mm-hmm.
14 million or so, right? But that's split. There's Mets and there's Yankees fans, but then you've also
But
got
when you're
Yankees fans
but when
all
you're
over
voting
the.
when you're
Yeah,
voting All Star game, it's AL and NL, so it doesn't really matter.
doesn't really matter. No, but that's what I mean. Like, but even though New York, it's split. Whereas if you take from Toronto, it's the only Canadian team, and you have roughly 30 million people because not everyone's a baseball fan, not everyone's a Jays fan, as opposed to
Yeah.
having like a city like Kansas City, which is maybe a million. Actually, let me look that up
It's
to
a
be
great
honest with you.
city, though. I've been there before. Kansas City actually, surprisingly, was a cool city. Although the weird thing about it was they closed downtown Kansas City at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday
Whoa,
and reopened it on Monday, which is just
whoa,
weird.
whoa.
You're woeing?
No, just the fact that they closed it down at 5. Oh, how about that? Kansas
It is
City,
bizarre.
1.698 million.
Yep. But they do have a great stadium. Like it's amazing how they got such good stuff for a little tiny town. I mean, look at this. Buffalo ain't a big town either, but they've got an NFL team and an NHL team.
Yeah.
So, um,
Oh,
yeah. So let's see. The next part, we're like, okay, this is the big question. Do we have a playoff rotation right now? Think
no,
playoff rotation, not regular rotation.
nope.
Playoff
We don't
rotation.
even have a rotation right now. So the fact that we have a playoff rotation, no, we don't. If everyone is healthy,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. But
yeah.
as it
Because
stands right now,
we
we
only
have,
need four.
yeah. So that's okay. So you take Manoa, you take Gaussman,
Barrios
Barrios, because he's, but
and
then
Stripling for now.
Stripling
But
for
I
now.
am
But
telling you,
do you
we
think
are going to get another.
Kikuchi's gonna catch up? I don't know.
No.
No.
We're going to make a trade for another pitcher. I mean, I think that's a given. I just don't know who we're going to get because it depends on how much we want to give up.
Remember when we had the
Um,
problem of not starting, Mark Burley in the playoffs because we had too many pitchers?
yeah,
Like, oh,
yeah.
he's only
It was
thrown
just
a.
real. Like here's the thing: the Jays' issue, I find in general, like their drafting has been pretty good with finding talent, but they draft so many middle infielders and
Mhm.
leave the other parts. Like I understand to draft the best prospect available
Yeah,
in whatever position he plays.
because it's
But do they all play
currency.
middle infield?
Yeah,
Like they can't all play middle infield.
yeah.
So we need to start drafting pitchers.
Well, this is
Pitchers
the
with
thing, right? Like it's the old adage of like you are treating it as a commodity. Like you're trying to get the best commodity you can, but you also have to think of what, because you're drafting it for the big club. What does the big club
Mhm.
need? You have to look into that aspect as well. And yeah, you're
Well,
right.
if you're
You
looking
can't do
down the
you can't
road,
always get a
yeah,
second baseman.
yeah. I mean, I know and I think we have a dearth of outfielders. Sorry, we have not enough outfielders, not enough like hard throwing pitchers.
Yeah,
That's our biggest issue. I mean, I guess you could move these middle infield guys to the outfield if you want to. They do that with some of them, but we don't have a lot of like. If you look at a pitching depth, we don't really have any, and we just proved it.
yeah,
So if another guy gets hurt, we're totally screwed. Like right now, we're on the edge of already being screwed.
yeah,
I'm worried about Stripling having to be a starter for the rest of the season, just based on workload alone.
yeah.
So I would say they got it maybe two starters, number maybe like a 3 and a 5,
Hmm.
just to have them there.
See which team needs middle infielders.
There is a there is also a rumor abound that in the bullpen, one of the available people that might be around, maybe possibly because his contract is coming up, is Josh Hader.
Oh, that's all right.
Now there's talk that he probably wouldn't sign with Milwaukee because they wouldn't be able to pay him what he wants.
Hmm.
But then there's also like, do we trade away at one of the favorite players and best players we got?
He's
Because there's
Canadian,
still Josh Hader's Canadian.
isn't he?
I don't think so.
I thought so.
John Axford was, and he pitched for Milwaukee,
Yeah,
but I
Josh.
don't
No,
think
I'm almost positive Josh Hader is.
I don't think so. I think you're full of lies.
Nope, I
Lies.
am. I am wrong. I am wrong. I am
Yep,
wrong.
very wrong.
I am wrong. He's from Maryland. That's not even a
So yeah,
Canadian state.
I've been to Maryland.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Diddle-doo, diddle-doo, diddle-doo.
A lot of Navy people there.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, I'm worried about Stripling wearing down. I'm worried that we don't have any power arms in the bullpen. Swing and miss guys. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not as big on that as some people are, but they were counting on Pearson and Merriweather to be those two guys, and Pearson's hurt again.
There's, yeah,
Merriweather's hurt again. And Merriweather, when he was here, just doesn't seem to have command of his stuff. Like I'm
like,
seeing a lot of command issues.
well, this is. I mean, I don't know if it could be a training problem as well, right? Like a training regimen, because remember when was it? It was roughly like 2004 ish, 5 ish to about
Mm-hmm.
2012, just prior to like Gibby coming back in, and then we would always lose a ton of guys on like freak sort of, you know, quad pulls or whatever. And I have a feeling it's like the training regimen they get put through. When Gibby came in, he brought in a new crew of trainers. They had a new sort of regimen. So it's almost like they're not stretching enough. It sounds so stupid to say, but something as little as that,
Well,
like,
the size of their departments in general, the Jays have one of the biggest major league coaching staff out there,
yeah,
including all these guys that do that. So I don't know. They're pushing themselves more. Maybe they need to do more flexibility
that's
exercises so they're
that's
not
it. Yeah,
constantly pulling. You know what I mean? Yeah.
because
They
there's
just
because
need
there's
to.
a lot of like labrum and elbow stuff, and it's not like,
Yeah.
and that's a pull, that's a stretch. It's almost like a cramp kind of deal. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a major league pitcher. I mean, I've got the body of a Bartolo Colon, so like I could.
Yeah.
I've got the hair of
So
Hader and Axford. I've got the hair of a closer.
so okay. So who would you want to add to the rotation? So from what I or in the bullpen, pitchers available from what I understand: Frankie Montas in Oakland.
Yeah, I
Um,
I've I've said Contreras from Pittsburgh, Ronnie Contreras.
maybe
I would
I was
I
thinking Luis Garcia
Garcia
from
from
because he
Cincinnati.
no he's in Pittsburgh.
Sorry, Castillo from Cincinnati.
Yeah, because we can't have
Yeah.
Molly. People keep mentioning Molly in these
Mhm.
articles to trade to the Jays, and people don't realize he's still not vaccinated, so he's not going to come here.
Mhm.
I'd like to have Castillo. I think that's the one out there, and maybe if we can get Brad Fulmer from the Tigers as well,
Michael
that
Fulmer.
would be
Michael
great for
Fulmer.
the bullpen. But
Yeah.
we just need a little more pitching. Like I don't think they went into the season thinking our bullpen was going to be a blowout bullpen. I don't
Oh
think by
God.
any stretch. They're going to be professional, know what they're doing, that kind of thing. But this team really, more than a lot of other teams, relies on its offense,
Oh yeah.
and it's obviously important. Um, the one thing I am impressed with is that we are fourth in the American League in fielding percentage, and we were like near the bottom last year, which shows that our fielding is getting better.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
just as good as a good pitcher. It's like if you get someone that
exactly.
produces a lot of ground balls, a lot of pop ups. If you got crap fielders, you're still gonna get someone on base. So
Well, that's why everybody was like when Chapman came, everybody's like the happiest guy in the room is going to be Hyunjin Ryu,
yeah,
and yeah, unfortunately, we saw what happened to him. So I think we should add two starting types, or at least one like Castillo and then one long man as well, because we don't really have one except for Trent Thornton, and Trent Thornton can only be used in low leverage. Anytime he goes to a high leverage situation, he gives up runs.
and I mean we
It's
don't
just
have we don't have someone we can send out there just as a sacrificial lamb if we happen to be getting our asses handed to us, like like a oh actually like a Russell Martin. Remember Russell Martin actually had a couple of
uh,
couple of games pitching. Speaking of Russell
yep,
Martin,
that
he
was
had
a
it.
good ceremony.
Yeah,
It was a nice ceremony. I like the fact that Gabby Moreno actually called him up to ask if he could wear
yeah.
55.
They were put together, and he was like, yeah, is it all right? And Russell's response was, yeah, I think that 55 jersey's got a lot of hits left in it, so you go take it. I'm like, that's cool. That's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
response. I like that.
He's and they're naming the I guess the juvenile team is going to name their MVP after him.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be yeah. So he's done good for himself. I mean, he made the playoffs 10 times in 14 seasons,
Yeah.
but I don't think he ever won
He
with
won. Didn't he
anybody.
win with the Yankees once? Because he never won with the
No, the
Dodgers.
Yankees haven't won in like 20 years.
He did. He never won it with the Dodgers. He played for Pittsburgh for like a year or two. Played with the
Hmm.
Yankees for a year or two, and then played with us for four. So Obviously, the two of those 4 years he didn't make the playoffs. I'm going to give you one team to think of: Pittsburgh. He was not in the playoffs
Yeah.
for those. Um, but yeah, that's insane. That's actually a pretty good stat. Yeah. All
All right,
right.
and with that one, it's now time for commercial break number two.
Hey kids, do you want to be a podcast superstar like us? Or host a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel, or just create a video blog? The Stage 10 app can turn your computer into a production studio, adding graphics, music, and videos on the fly, as well as patching in multiple guests, some from as far away as China. Other side, other side. He's not in China right now, but he was.
I was
With a
in
friendly
China.
staff to help you with any problems that may occur. Josh has bailed us out on many occasions, by the way. Stage 10 allows you to broadcast simultaneously to multiple platforms and all social media sites. So if you want to be like us, superstars, Stage
Stage
10 can
10.
make you look good. Yeah, I don't think we need the commercial cutoff. I think we can just go back
Yeah,
and
I agree with that one.
yeah.
All right, so where is our next one? So Alek Manoah has the best start of any Blue Jay pitcher ever. Still continuing in that direction. Way better than Dave Steve. Way better
Yeah.
than Roy Halladay. Even better numbers than Roger Clemens when he first came in his
Well,
first
I mean,
season.
if you remember Halliday actually was awful when he started because he had to
Yeah,
go
he had to go
back
down
down
to
a
A
couple
ball.
times. Yeah, and then
A
he
ball.
learned his game down there. Yeah,
Yep. No, that's good that he did. It's funny how you just never know with these guys.
yeah,
Like Tiedemann, who's our pitcher down in the minors, is just working his way up really fast because he's just good. And Manoah had what eight? I think it was like 8 starts in the minors
yeah,
before they called him up, and he's just been killing it.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, like he's what's the? I'm trying to think of a best comparison for him, and like this is going to sound odd, but he's sort of like a better Ricky Romero. He's sort of what
He's
Ricky
yeah,
Romero should have been because he's got the size. He's got the size, but
mm-hmm.
you know, and he's got
6'6".
yeah, and he's got. Well, I mean, it's not like he's overpowering, but he does have a good fastball and he can actually place
Mm-hmm.
it. So it's tough to sort of place him in what he is. Like he doesn't
He's a
have the
bulldog.
yeah, he doesn't have the chops of like a veteran pitcher yet because that'll come,
Nope.
and that's one of those things that you'll learn in a couple things. But he's almost there. He's almost
Yeah,
there.
like just some people, learn better, learn quicker than other people.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes. And his baseball IQ is high. He's a great teammate. He never wants to come out of a game,
No.
ever. He hates coming out of games when he's in the middle of an inning. But so it goes. You're looking at now maybe starting pitching for the AL in the All Star game. He's got a shot, but I mean he's gonna have to beat McClanahan from Tampa and Verlander,
Mm-hmm.
who notched his 10th win, I believe, recently. Who's got an ERA .02, I think, lower than Manoah.
Yeah,
But
he was injured for a little bit. Like I think he missed 2 starts or 3 starts. Verlander did,
yeah,
but yeah, and thanks to him, those were probably like maybe 2 he would have lost. So because
so
the guy's just awesome.
any pitchers from the Jays you think will make the All Star team?
No, I highly doubt it. With the exception of
No
maybe,
pitchers?
and I think Manoah would get a call up as like come out
Yeah.
and pitch an inning or pitch a couple of batters or something like that. But
Yep.
as it stands right now, like that was supposed to be our selling feature this year. Was supposed to be our starting rotation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we knew our bats were going to be good, but I honestly, yeah, no, I don't think so. With the exception of Manoah, yeah,
Yeah, I think Romano might have a chance,
possibly, possibly.
but
He's
that would be it.
yeah, but
Like
I mean, like
he's
the
kind of
the league's got a ton of killer closers as well, though, right? So
well, yeah. And Romano's not exactly a lights out closer
no,
either. He's not a 1, 2, 3 kind of guy. We really do need like 1, 2, 3 type guys. Like
mhm.
the Braves had that in the playoffs last year,
Yeah,
But the thing is, it's so hard to build a bullpen because you never know who's going to be what from one season to the next. Like that's why I like the fact they wanted to get a really good, a great rotation, really good hitters, and an average bullpen. Because I think in general, excuse me, you have to have two of those main things. So,
I
uh,
I, I mean, one of our one of our things a couple of years ago, it just came out of nowhere, was we had a great middle rotation, and that sort of saved us and gave us that little trip into the playoffs that we had 2 years ago that we sort of didn't deserve yet, and
yeah,
we've lost that. This year it was supposed to be our starting pitching. Like our bats have always been there. Our
yeah.
bats have always been there even when we sucked. To be honest with you, because you
Well,
know,
you look at Vladdy's a good example. Vladdy's not having a Vladdy season. Like people keep thinking he's like slumping, but he's still on pace for 40 home runs.
yeah,
You
it's the
know,
fact that
interesting stat I actually found out. There's three New York Yankees with over 20 home runs,
yeah,
and no other team has either has one guy or none.
yeah,
And they've got three.
three. Well, I mean, Judge
Like
is Judge is at 30 right now.
Judge will be MVP
Yeah,
if he keeps this up for another even 2/3 more of the season.
yeah.
Because I think on Sunday we're at the halfway point. I think it's 81 games. We're pretty
Well,
close
we
anyway.
we have had five players with 25 homers.
Yep.
It's
We had I think a couple last year. I think we had 9 players with 20 or more,
yeah,
9 or 10. So we'll be fine. Like I'm not
yeah.
worried about our hitting. Um, the pitching we'll see, but we need to get somebody. It's that simple. Like
Actually, what's crazy when you're talking about good hitting beating good pitching and random things, with the rarity of pitching like a no hitter, or hitting for the cycle. And there's been five players so far this year that have hit for the cycle. Like
mhm.
that's pretty insane. And
I think
was
it's
it
6 now because one happened yesterday.
Arenado? Arenado
Was it
was
was it
number was the
Arenado yesterday?
was the fifth, but he it was like a friendly score, right? Uh,
Well, that's what when I saw Jeff Fries in 2001. Like he definitely hit a double, but he kind of like jogged it to a single
well,
to get
what
his.
happened was he ran for a single, and the throw was just so ridiculous. Like it wasn't even close. Like they could have scored that as an error, so they scored it as a single with a throwing error. So he ends up
Yeah.
getting the single, but it was a double, yeah. And it was a clear error. So it should have been just reached on an error as opposed to actually being scored as a single. So
So, do you think going back to Kikuchi, do you think he's worth 12 million a year?
no, no. But the
Okay.
thing is like I like who else is there at that right now? Like what we've got is what we've got. We have to we paid for it. We just gotta use it. I personally think that he's gonna be two good games, two bad games, two good games, two bad games. He's going to be like a 10-10 record, or 11-11 record, or something like that with
Well,
a
there's a reason why he's not an ace. I think people got to
six.
start thinking about that.
Yeah,
There's a reason why he's number five, and
yeah,
$12 million a year for a five isn't that bad.
yeah. And
I
he'll
mean,
have like a
every team
six
has that though.
ERA. He'll have a 500 record, but he will eat up some innings, and that's
Hmm.
what you want.
If you can get him to the fifth,
Yeah.
then you should be fine. But like again, it goes back to this past weekend with the Jays and the double headers and stuff, where they used I think it was Thornton and Castillo after Lawrence, and then they used Gage and Phelps
Mhm.
and somebody else on Sunday
Engage.
or Saturday.
Gage did not did not win over any fans.
No, so they they have a dearth. Every other team in the league, I'm still not convinced Boston's rotation is going to last. I just don't see it.
No.
The Yankees, same thing. I mean, between Trevino, Tyon, and Montgomery, those are three guys who came off major injuries in the last few years.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Tyon also
and
beat
they're
cancer too, so he's playing. He's playing with house money right now.
exactly. Yeah. So it's where's my next part here? So where are we? What
Uh,
is okay? Here's the one for Alec Manoa. I want to ask again. Is Alek Manoah pitching to his floor right now? Do you think he's reached his ceiling, or where do you think he is in his development?
I don't think he's at his ceiling. I think he's still gonna progress. Most definitely. He's definitely not at his floor. But it's a let's just say it's a 20-story building. Okay, let's say it's the CN Tower. Let's say it's CN Tower. He's definitely up the elevator. He's not on the top level yet. He's not on the space deck, you know. But he's
I
going up
love the
the
space
elevator.
deck.
He's going up the elevator.
Yeah,
But he's definitely not, in the basement. In the Tour of the Universe. Remember way back in the day, it was Tour of the Universe.
I remember that. Do you remember the laser tag when they had to for
Oh
a while?
yeah,
But
and way back in the day, they had go karts under there.
yeah,
There's
now
go
it's
kart,
just now it's just a really expensive aquarium. Really
really
expensive.
expensive aquarium.
Yeah, it's
Expensive
not
aquarium.
worth it. It ain't worth anything about it, whatever. So yeah,
Speaking of
I
such,
think
hey
when
Ripley's Aquarium, if you want to sponsor us, yeah, we will
yeah,
change our
no,
tune.
I think Manoa he's he's figuring things out quickly. He's developing another pitch for against left-handers
Mm-hmm.
because he was getting hit hard. I think he's developing a changeup for that. That'll run in on their hands. So he's constantly tinkering with himself. He's got a good, like for a guy who's 285 pounds and 6'6", he really has a nice fluid delivery.
Yeah,
He seems to know what he wants to do. He seems to have some semblance of conviction about how he wants to throw things.
and
So,
and he looks like he wants to learn too. And I think like a guy like Gaussman can help him. Like if we could pull
mhm.
in, like a crafty vet, and that would,
Well, remember he's best friends with Yunjin Ryu right now. They
yeah,
became fast buddies.
yeah. But if we can pull in
So
like a
pick Ryu's
crafty
brain.
a crafty like a literally like a Verlander type guy, but obviously that's
Well, no, that's what I'm
a lot
saying.
of money.
Ryu had to be crafty because he had no velocity.
Yeah.
He had to be all about placing it and trying to get people to figure that stuff out. But yeah, let's see. Who is your Blue Jay player of the week this week? Do you have one?
I mean, like my Blue Jay. Well, I can tell you who my player of the week wasn't. The starter for Boston that looked like he had a porn mustache. Was named Blednost or whatever. Oh my god, that was just terrible. Um,
Yeah,
no, I to be honest, I actually think our player of the week is. I know it's gonna suck, but it's gonna be Kirk. It's gonna be Kirk. He's still hitting on a good pace. Like it's yeah, it's he's definitely playing into the fact that he's now going to be trade bait, according to us. According to us, like I
yeah.
think it's the time to get rid of him is, before the August deadline. So you're going to see
It's
Kirk. You're
so
going to see Kirk on the team for one more month. That's about it.
there's so many people out there saying, and even some baseball scribes now thinking that they'll trade Jansen. The only problem with trading Jansen is you're not going to get a decent enough return. You're going to get like a middle prospect or so because he's injury prone. Like he's hitting
Mm-hmm.
great, but he's friggin' injury prone. That guy. But I mean, I personally would rather, in my ideal world, it would be Moreno and Zach Collins,
Yeah.
lefty righty. Um, although I think,
Well, Collins is his battery mate down in Buffalo, right? So, you know,
yeah,
like he was a White Sox draft pick back in the day. So he's actually a little older, but he's not like super old. I think he's like 27, still under 30. So,
yeah,
so for a catcher, catchers can play for as long as their knees will hold out. And he's not like a speedster, so it's not like he's lighting up the base path or anything. So as long as he can protect a pass ball and hit about 280 to 300, he'll be fine. I think we just lost Jeff for a sec there. Yeah, we did.
yep. By the way, I'm an narcoleptic, so every once in a while, yeah, it's
Once in a
gonna
while,
happen.
it'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
So anyway,
granted, my story was boring as shit, but um,
no, I wouldn't say that. I caught part of it, but then I just narked out.
oh,
Just
that's all
yeah,
right. Here,
that's all right.
let's do a little let's do a
Yeah,
little
let's do one more
do
commercial
a
break,
little
and then we'll
commercial
finish
break.
this sucker off.
Are we gonna do Hold on a second. We're going to do a little commercial break for 365
365.
podcast.
So, what wakes me up when I'm having a narcoleptic attack? 365sportscast.com. They have programming for all kinds of sports on there, based out of New York City, run by a gentleman who has been in the business for 40 plus years, and he is acquiring all sorts of different types of podcasts. And as we've said before, their number one podcast is actually a Stratomatic baseball podcast. So if you go to 365sportscast.com, look on their schedules, you'll see us there for our 5 p.m. Sunday slot, and you'll see all the other shows that are available as well. Check them all out. We're a nice big family, great hosts, nice people, willing to talk to their fans. So if you want some good sports content, 365sportscast.com, because that's where we are, and that's good sports content. Is it time for Pissy Jays fans yet?
Yeah, it is. I don't have a bumper for it for next week.
That's okay. We don't need a
next
bumper.
Week. Oh, we definitely do.
Jays fans. Jays fans. Or how about just incredibly obnoxious New York Yankee fans? Because all they do is like, we're the best ever. They might end up being the best ever, but they're not there yet.
Mm-hmm. Go with Jays fans first. We gotta reel in the home crowd.
Exactly. Well, for one thing I do want to say, and this I just noticed this again, we need to say condolences to Mark Budzinski, who was the first base coach of the Jays. He, if you watched the game yesterday, he left. Charlie Montoya brought him over and had a little huddle with the coaches. Budzinski and Montoya went into the stairwell leading out of the dugout. Montoya came back later without Budzinski, and Hurtado came out from the bullpen to be the first base coach. It turns out that unfortunately, Mr. Budzinski's eldest daughter passed away, and that's why. So for Mr. Budzinski and his whole family, we're really sorry. It's a horrible, horrible thing to have to hear about in the middle of your job. Yeah. I hope you guys are doing all right. 40-40, man, I got your back. And hopefully the Jays will be inspired to do this for you and come back whenever you want to come back. Mark, stay home as long as you need to. We got it over here.
That's I mean, it's crazy. Like a little something like that. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a rando thing. Who was it that his baby daughter died in the midst of pitching a game, and he didn't know until he was taken out of the game.
That's brutal.
And it was in the 90s, and it's gonna kill me. I'm gonna remember it literally as soon as I hit stop on this thing. But yeah, his baby girl, she was like 1.5 or 2. She was sick. Like she had, I think it was leukemia or something like that. But yeah, pitching a game, and she ended up dying. Like, ugh, like that's awful.
Oof. Okay, here's a guy who's got some trade options. Interesting.
All right, let's hear it.
No. Okay, for us to receive from the Orioles, George Lopez, their closer, or Dylan Tate as a reliever, maybe. Cubs, David Robertson, absolutely. He's probably the one big name that's on the trade block these days. From the Reds, Castillo. The guy says from the Tigers, Giovanni Soto.
There's never going to happen. No way.
Never going to happen.
Yeah.
The Marlins, this one has been talked about on more than one occasion.
Sandy Alcantara.
Lopez.
Oh, okay.
Pablo Lopez. They're not going to get rid of Alcantara. Apparently, they are really high in them, but they have a lot of other arms coming up.
But he's also pretty much one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. Like,
yeah. Well, Pablo Lopez's ERA is under 3. Like he's doing really. They have some really good pitching, so it's just a matter of what they want. Basically, they've got a lot of pitching and no position players.
Mm-hmm.
So I would see probably, because we were gonna. I wanted them as a trade partner for catching in the offseason. We were looking to trade one of the catchers. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they signed a couple catchers. They don't need them. Or
No,
traded for somebody from Pistons,
yeah,
right?
you've got a
So
plethora right now.
we'll probably offer them. I'm guessing Lourdes.
Yeah,
If there's one position player who's going to go, he would probably be the one,
and
which is too
he's
bad.
actually versatile. Like, I mean, he was an infielder converted to an outfielder coming
Oh,
back
he's
in,
played
so
first base for us a couple times already
he's
this year.
he's got the chops for it. I do think he's better suited as an outfielder. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
he's got a killer
he's
arm.
got a killer arm, and
Um,
it was overpowering throwing from second to first when he used to play second. So
Now, the other one, okay, you got Barlow from the Royals, which would be good. See, here's my trading partner, who I would trade with is the Royals. I
okay,
would try and get Benintendi and Barlow from the pen from them. Now, in order to get
they don't need a
Benintendi,
catcher because they like, so we're not going to be able to get rid of Kirk on that one because
well, it's not just that they also have a catcher of the future coming up too that they're really high
yeah.
on as well.
But I mean,
No,
their catcher right now is pretty kick ass. So
you'd have to trade Lourdes right away
mm-hmm.
because basically Benintendi would take his
Take
spot,
spot, yeah,
right? Because he's left-handed, um, and then you probably just throw in somebody from some pitcher from the minors to get Barlow. So I don't know, throw them Anthony Kay or Kloffenstein or something. I think it's possible. Kansas City wants some major league ready caliber kind of people. They're not that, so that's why Lourdes goes,
yeah.
which is too bad.
David Robinson
But
is actually that mention there is actually pretty good. Although, you know, Chicago gave us a little bit of a hand beating up on Boston over the past couple of games, but they are
yeah,
definitely
we
like
thought.
they got rid of everybody. What, 2 years ago?
Well,
That
there's
was
the
for
other trade guy. It's Ian Happ. That's the other trade, a
yeah,
possibility I think with the Cubs. So you can either have the Royals one, or you can have the Cubs, which would be Robertson and Happ.
yeah.
So I think that's how it's. I think because they're not going to make. They need starters, they need relievers, and they need a left-handed bat.
Okay.
That's what they need. No team
I
ever has everything, right?
this is the
So
thing. It's like I feel that I obviously feel our pitching is way more important than a left-handed bat at this point in time. So like I think that falls down the line for me, my own personal opinion, my
yeah,
pissy Jays fans' opinion. Hold on, let me type that in with some improper spelling
uh,
and a name
I
that
I
yeah
I get we need pitching first. Don't get me wrong,
yeah
but you notice it, and I noticed it with their starter on was it the first game on Thursday. We had an all right-handed lineup against the lefty, which is great.
mhm,
But you can see the pitchers get into rhythms of where they're going to go because it's always a righty, a righty, a righty, a righty, a righty.
mhm.
You want a left, you want a couple lefties in there to help break up
Just to
that
shake it up.
monotony.
And another thing too,
Exactly.
though, in trading for Benintendi, like that's also a thing as well that can just sort of signify to the league, like, all right, because remember, you know, we'll harken back to like the you know the mid-teens run that the Jays did. We were below 500, and in a
Mm-hmm.
span of like 3 or 4 days, we picked up Tulowitzki, we picked up Price, you know, and
Yep.
it was that
Ben
pickup,
Revere,
yeah, and
John
yeah,
Buck.
and it was all over in a boom in a couple of days, and you just
Yeah.
realize you're like, oh, that happened, oh, that's awesome, that happened.
That's what
So
I always remind people about is 2015 because they were
yeah,
50 and 51 July at the end
yeah,
of July. So anybody who thinks the Jays are just like crap in the bed
no,
don't understand. It's like the same ones who go after Montoya.
yeah.
Montoya.
It's
You know,
Montoyo,
you know, you know
Charlie
that they don't like
Montoyo.
him because they call him Montoya all the goddamn time. And
Yeah,
when you correct him, it's like it doesn't matter. He's a terrible manager. He's got to show more fire. Well, he's been thrown out more times this season than any other
yeah.
American League manager has so far.
He's just a happy-go-lucky guy when he talks to the press. Like
Like,
he's
why do people think we need to have a hard ass all the time?
you don't,
I
but
don't get it. They're
it's
calling for
also
Gibbons.
it's also the
They're,
hockey mentality too, though, right? Because you get like
yeah,
a lot of douchebag coaches in hockey that get results for like 2 years and then they're done. But everyone's like, "Oh, he's awesome," and like people are still like, in love with Cherry. Like I hate Don Cherry. He's an idiot. I met him. He
Yeah.
sucks. And
Well, look at
yeah,
who was it the Leafs had recently before they hired O'Keefe before they hired Keefe. Who did they have?
No, sorry. Oh, why can't
Babcock.
I? Babcock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mike
Mike
Babcock,
Babcock. Yeah,
and he was great for first couple of seasons, and
yeah,
then they tuned him out.
yeah.
You can't. It's like
There's only
I
so
tell you,
often you can get yelled at. Yeah,
you know who I'm surprised hasn't been fired yet? Tony La Russa.
yeah.
Now I know he's had injury issues a bit, but he's too like Dusty Baker's old school, but he also kind of gets the new school.
Yeah.
Tony La Russa doesn't.
No,
These old
Tony La
school manager
Russa.
types
Yeah,
don't work.
Tony Russa, sort of got lucky. Like he had a killer team that was juiced up in the '80s. Balco, the A's.
Well, I mean, he had good White Sox teams in the '80s when he was with them,
But
right? Like
and then he went to the
he,
Cardinals, and the Cardinals, like he was
he
gifted
had,
the Cardinals team with the lineup they
yeah,
had, so that was fine. But he's been the beneficiary of steroids in the
good team.
'80s,
Yeah,
being given a great team. Like yeah, he does know his baseball, but he knows his baseball up to a certain point, and that's the thing, right? Like it
like yeah, you just don't you don't kids these days aren't going to respond to yelling and screaming kind of guys. They aren't, and anybody who thinks that they will is stupid.
yeah.
I'm just like, and there's enough of those fans out there who just think that. I don't get it. I don't understand why they hate him Montoyo so much. I don't like he
because
doesn't.
he came off the radar like when they were shopping around for a new manager. His name came out of the woodworks, like no one saw it coming. There was a couple of people that saw it, like I thought they were going to go in a different direction, but yeah, he came out of nowhere. So I think a
Well,
lot of
they
people still
wanted
wanted their yeah,
They
yeah,
wanted Rocco Baldelli. That's who they wanted.
yeah,
But they also wanted someone from the Tampa Bay system,
yeah.
and that was Charlie.
And Charlie,
So
yeah,
that's because Charlie and Rocco worked together the whole time. Like Sergio Romo partially came here because
because of him, yeah,
Charlie Montoyo. You know what he said to all you pissy Jays fans who think he doesn't know anything? He said that he came here because Charlie will tell him and be straight up front with him if he's doing bad.
yeah, and
He's not going
also
to sugarcoat anything. He's
yeah,
going to tell him to his face.
but also give him the
And
opportunity to get himself out of a jam as well. And
yeah,
but this is the thing, right? Like Tampa and Oakland now. Um, Tampa has worked with like no budget whatsoever, and same with Oakland. It's working for Tampa, so why not pluck someone from their system that knows how to sort
yep,
of operate on a shoestring budget, and then give them the budget that Rogers has?
yeah. People still think Rogers aren't going to spend either, which is ridiculous.
No,
Okay,
they
we're
won't.
almost done. But here's an interesting stat I just found.
All
I
right.
don't know if you can see this. Okay, so it's a picture. It says Joey Gallo came into the league in 2015, and Vladdy came into the league in 2019. Gallo has 833 more plate appearances than Vladdy, and Vladdy's out hitting him 447 to 446 in career hits.
Yeah, I can see that.
Ooh, Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo is a terrible, terrible player right now.
Yeah,
He's
when
just
I like well that but that's also he's he's a Yankee, so everyone has to always like pump up the Yankees. I know we're on a
he's
New
just
York network.
terrible. Like he can catch, but man, he can't hit. I understand he's a home run guy, but he's not even doing that anymore. He's
Yeah,
just sucks. So they're going to look to improve their outfield too.
actually,
Um,
I have a quick little factoid from speaking of '80s Oakland's. So on this day in baseball history in 1988, Oakland's Gene Nelson steals a baseball pinch running for Don Baylor in a 9-8 16-inning win over Toronto, becoming the first American League pitcher to steal a base since Blue Moon Odom in the '70s. Blue Moon
that's one of
Odom.
the. Usually, the guy's name is like Blue Moon. That's usually in like the 30s. I'm very impressed. The guy had Blue Moon something in the
Oh yeah,
70s.
yeah, and Fred
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Fred the
We should have a
Comet.
talk about that one day. Nicknames in sports these days suck.
Oh yeah, it's just take your
It's
first
always
initial
like
and then like
and
three
put an
initials
E
of your
on the
last
end.
one. It's like
Yeah, I'd be
K-Low,
Morty,
D-Row.
and
Yeah.
you be Howie. Like that's how they do it.
Oh, it's not even that.
It's
It's
just
like
like
it's like you'd be J Moore. I'd be G How.
or something. Yeah, it's either that or they put an E at the end of like the last name or something.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Oh no, that's
But
hockey
anyway,
nicknames. All right, we got
so
20
we're almost
seconds.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, oh, that much? I had 45.
Yeah.
So next week, be there again, Sunday at 5 p.m. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to watch us. The time always goes by so fast.
Yeah.
But if you want to check us out on YouTube. Hopefully, we'll be getting on the Spotify, Apple, and iHeart as well, but YouTube for sure.
And Face Book, that Italian website. Sorry, Meta, Facebook. Later, guys.
Meta. See ya. Look, I'm a bobblehead.